friends, welcome back to the second installment of my new little series, which is me learning how to sew, learning how to make my own clothes. And this video is going to be a little bit different to the first episode, in which I made a little set from scratch. This is actually going to be a thrift flip, which is very exciting. I actually saw this on TikTok, and I'm going to link the video below where I got this inspiration from and how to do this. And it's basically turning a pair of jeans into like a little pleated mini skirt, which I think is so cute. It looks simple enough, but it might not be. And that's the joy of trying these things. So fingers crossed this works out well and I actually like it. But let me just show you what we're starting with. Ignore the mess of the sewing machine behind me, but these are the jeans. They're basically just like straight leg, dark denim. They're actually Calvin Klein, and I thrifted them for $10, which is a bargain. And I love the way they fit, like around the waist. They fit perfectly, but I'm not sure about the fit of the leg. Like, they're fine, but I have some that are like a bit of a better leg fit that are a similar dark wash that I just gravitate to more, and I don't really wear these. My only concern is you kind of use the leg part to make the pleats at the bottom of the skirt, and if you can see, the leg on this is sort of has different like washes to it. If you can really see, you see how like around the knee it's like a lighter wash than the top and the bottom. So I'm concerned that when that's like flipped on its side and made into pleats, you'll see as I go, that's gonna look weird. But we won't know until we try, and it might look weird, but it might look cool to have all the pleats like a little slightly different shades of blue. I'm hoping it looks like a vibe. That's my main concern at the moment, but we're just gonna give it a whirl, and I'm gonna show you the process, and fingers crossed this is quick and easy and turns out to be a success. So I'm going to take these off and then we'll get started. Before I get stuck into it though, if you're not already, please subscribe. Just click the button down there. It would mean a lot to me. So do that right now and then we'll get started. Thanks. Step one is to basically lay these out and cut along here to cut the legs off. So I want to get this as straight as possible. So in an ideal world, I would have chalk and I would be able to, but I don't. So we're basically just gonna wing it and hope for the best. Maybe I can try and like, why do crotches do that? Why is it so round? So yeah, if you do have chalk or a means of kind of drawing across, I would do that. And I'm just gonna cut. No going back now. We are going to sew the pleats onto the bottom of this, so it doesn't matter if it's not perfect, I suppose. That's what I'm telling myself. Okay, now let's try and make these a little bit straighter. So we'll open up the crotch first. I always feel like the back can be a little bit longer than the front just because you have the butt to fill it out. Cool. We have a very, very mini skirt so far. So we're gonna put that to the side for now. And then the next step is the legs. And you basically want to cut along the legs as straight a line as possible. So maybe I really should try and mark for this, but what am I gonna use? I might try and use some pins to mark this because I do want it to be straight. And then I'm gonna open this up and just cut along this. Wow, they're not even, are they? So now I have two matching strips and I'm gonna just do the exact same on the other leg. There we go, 4 strips, roughly the same size. So next we're gonna start with 2 of these, right sides together, and I'm just going to sew along here to attach them. And then I'm gonna do the exact same to the other 2, and then I'm gonna attach the other 2 ends. So basically what we're doing is just making a big loop of this fabric. Right sides together, like so. And I'm going to do a straight stitch and then also a zigzag stitch. So I think I am going to chop off these ends because I think they're just going to be too thick. They're basically the hemmed ends of the jeans, but I think they're just going to cause more trouble than they're worth. Maybe like a 1.5 seam allowance. Let's get cracking, eh? And I'll do the same on these. So now these 2 are sewn together, right side together, and I'm just gonna do basically the same thing, but attaching these 2 together, if that makes sense. I'm gonna attach these right side together and the same on the other side, so we end up with a big loop, and I will show you what that looks like when it's done. And again, we're going to do the straight stitch first and then the zigzag stitch. Amazing. Okay, now let's move this so you can see what we're working with. So when I turn this inside out, you can see we basically just have one big loop of fabric. And I'm going to neaten up the edges because I didn't measure mine, as we know. So they're a little bit messy, so I'm just gonna trim the very edges off. This doesn't matter because I've basically lined up the other side, which is gonna be the end of the pleats. So this is gonna go like under the body of the skirt anyway, but just to make my life easier when I'm pleating and sewing, you know? And the good thing about this is it's also gonna be a raw hem on the bottom of the pleats. So even if I want to go in at the end and sort of trim them and neaten them up, I can do that. You can also hem these beforehand if you want to have hemmed edges, but I kind of like the idea of having a raw denim hem, you know. So we're bringing the body of the skirt back here, and what we're going to do first is we're going to turn this back inside out because we're going to sew again right sides together. So we're going to sew like this way, and then when we press it down it'll all be nice and neat. So turn this back inside out. They were saying in the video the best way to get even pleats is to use the kind of 4 quadrants and line them up to the 4 quadrants back on here. So we're going to line up these guys and just start pinning. God, it would be nice to have a bigger surface area to work on, wouldn't it? Am I doing this right? No, that's not right, is it? That makes more sense. I feel like sewing is so much more, I'm not gonna say mathematic, but like logical thinking, like lining things up like that and thinking, right, if I sew those together that way and then I fold it down, like, you know what I mean? Like it looks like you're sewing the wrong side onto the right side, but it's not the case. Sometimes it takes me a minute to really figure it out. When I was doing my sewing class, my God, the amount of times that she was like, just like turn that inside out and pop that in there and sew that together and then it'll work out. And I was like, I don't understand how that's gonna like line up correctly. But it always did. So now that my 4 quadrants are attached, as you can see, they're like big loops. So now I basically need to figure out how big I want the pleats to be, and like trying to make them even as well I think is going to be tough. I don't want them to be too small. I kind of like that big pleats. When the person on TikTok did this, they had like little clips that they could use to clip, and I was like, oh my God, that's so great. And I don't have that. I have just pins, so that's annoying. Again, as long as it's roughly the same, I think it'll be fine. I don't think they need to be identical, the pleats. That's one section, just to show you. See how I've kind of created the pleats along the bottom there? In that quadrant, I'm gonna do the same for the next one. Let me see if I can show you from a better angle. I mean, it's definitely not like perfectly even, but I think they're close enough, to be honest. I managed to do like 3 pleats per section. The first section was definitely the hardest to wrap my head around it. It got easier as it went along. Something they didn't mention in the TikTok, but I'm going to do is, I don't want to sew over these pockets, so I'm just gonna put them up and just pin them out of the way, because I know otherwise I'll end up sewing across them and then I'll be annoyed that I don't have access to my pockets. All right, this is how we're looking. So we're pleated right sides together, and then theoretically this is the last step, is just sewing all along that bottom line. Again, I'm gonna straight stitch and zigzag stitch so it's really secure, and then we should be able to flip these pleats down and we should have, touch wood, a pleated mini skirt. I'm now going to sew all the way around this. Okay, why am I so nervous? It's gonna be fine. It's going to be fine. I'm excited, but I'm nervous. So I'm going to do seam allowance of 1.5. I'm going to make sure I'm on a straight stitch. Length is about 2.5. The moment of truth. She needs to be, oh my God, I had a panic attack then. Take my pocket pins out. Thought I had sewn it together. Ooh, we have pleats, we have pleats. They're certainly not even, but they're pleats. Okay, we're not looking bad. I'm just gonna go and press these pleats with an iron so we can see what we're working with. And then I'll be back for the reveal. she's a skeleton. And it's actually not too short at all. For some reason I thought it was going to be really, really like micro mini, and obviously if it didn't have the pleats it would be tiny, but if anything, like I could trim it shorter, you know. So cute. As you can see, like it's not the neatest, obviously the pleats and stuff, but I honestly think that's not bad. And that honestly did not take that long at all. I thought that was going to take forever. So cute. And that's it, done. I am incredibly happy with how that turned out, and honestly a little bit shocked. I didn't think it was going to be as successful as it was. As I said, I will obviously link the TikTok down below if you want to follow along as well. His is definitely way more professional than mine, but hopefully you can follow along with what I did as well. And yeah, I really hope you like it. Please let me know what you think, and if you tried this yourself, definitely let me know. Tag me on Instagram if you post on there. I'm just at EllenWalker1, and give me a follow as well while you're over there. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning into episode 2 of my little learning to sew, making my own clothes. Yeah, I really appreciate you being here. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.